Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another episode of Eternal Warriors Replays. I am your host, Some Pro Domino. Here we have Squirt Gunner. He's playing in the EVR 90, and actually I want to do something a little special this time. Because normally I do all the commentary. I'm sitting here, I'm telling you guys exactly what's going on, how it's working, and that's all well and good, but it's better to get the other person's perspective as well. So here with me today is Squirt Gunner, and he's going to tell you all about these two replays that we're going to show you today, when to run and when not to run in the EBR 90. So Squirt Gunner, I did it again. Squirt Gunner, how's it going, man?
It's going. You can call me CJ, that's cool.
Yep.
So like what just happened in the beginning of the game, what we just watched, was I ran over there, and I saw that there was a lot of tanks on the right side of the map. So because there's a lot of tanks on the right side of the map, I'm likely to die if I stay over there and keep in them. So I decided to run to the mid. Now I'm running into this bat chat.
Which is not a tank you want to run into either.
No, it's not. But it's one tank versus coming in contact with,
Exactly.
Which is,
so
obviously my platoon mate at his demise.
Remelex's, unfortunately, he did not do so well over there in the forest on the east.
Right.
And obviously you got this other EVR 90s taking shots at you, but you're running away. So.
Right.
Go ahead and just kind of talk about your strategy here in this game, that you kind of go in and then you fall back and then you go in again. And
so the idea is to just use the view range circles to decide how far I actually need to go in, because you don't have to be in their face to spot them. As long as your view range is covering where where I try to keep my view range circle where the last known spotting was of those tanks. As long as you're within there, you're gonna do pretty good. You're not gonna.
I see.
Stay alive and to light.
Yeah, and you kind of mentioned this at one point when we were been playing. You don't like how people say that like tank players, they need to be constantly aggressive. You kind of need to always assess your situation and not kind of barge in. But speaking about barging in, you're using a little high explosive rounds there against some heavy tanks.
Yes, yeah. The decision there was to distract. This tank is so fast that it makes other tanks look, and so now there's a possibility that he's going to try to be worried about me coming around that corner again. I'm not going to do that because I don't want to die, and this is another example of the whole runaway thing. Just because I engaged him doesn't mean I can continue else, especially on 188.
No, I get it.
Okay, of course you want to take out their light first.
Which was a very nice shot. Now, of course, the EVR 90s, all these wheeled light tanks, they have improved. They have improved shot on the move. This improved. Gosh, I'm having a brain fart. What's this called?
Tracking.
Improved tracking. Yeah. And then, of course, non-turreted tank destroyer. Might as well just stick around and pop a few rounds into the back.
Yeah, but you notice we're pretty far into the game. I mean, it's been 4 minutes into the game, and I don't have a lot of damage yet.
Yeah.
I'm basically just trying to. I got real lucky there. I'll admit that. But I'm really just trying to, like I said, stay alive and provide vision for the team, because vision is information, right? And you're gonna notice that I'm trying to work with this EBR 105, big brother over here. Because I'm seeing where he's going, so he's obviously going to deal with that. What is that, E10 or E5? That's T10.
Yes. You went the other way and helped your artillery unit spot the UDA 16. He took him out.
Right. Now you're looking at a convoy over here. I realize that the convoy has a really slow turret rotation, so I'm trying to get him to look at me, that something else can shoot him. Once again, now a lot of like really good players, the purple ones, they are all about they'll say you need to get damage, gotta manage and punish them. Not always necessary Yeah, now look at all these. But not always necessary. That's like not team play. As a light
Exactly.
tank in my you're a support player, right? So you don't need to do the damage. You get just as much experience by not doing the damage and allowing your
Well, the reality is that you're getting as much experience if you're doing your job as tank destroyers, because the whole premise here is that if you spot the tank you're shooting at, you get 100% of the experience of the damage that you do. If you
Right.
are not spotting the tank and you do the damage, you get 50% of the experience. And if you're spotting the tank and you don't do the damage, you're getting 50% of the experience. So
Right.
it really balances itself out in that sense that, light tank players, just like tank destroyer players, are trying to get as much damage as they can. Light tank players are trying to get as much assistance damage as they can.
Right, and the other thing too that a lot of people don't realize is a lot of that assistance and quote unquote damage, like this right here. Look at this.
Yeah.
Burning this guy.
Which, by the way, I think this is the first time you actually went into scope.
Yeah.
in this game.
I needed to. I had the time. I decided, but you see, a lot of my damage didn't come until later in the game. You have 15 minutes to play the game, so there's no reason to stay engaged. If you feel like you're gonna die, or if you feel like you are in a situation where you're gonna not gonna be able to pull out of it, okay, then you probably run away. And that's the gist of the video: is don't stay in contact when you don't need to. No,
Exactly.
There's no need for it. You don't need to be greedy.
And especially in a tank like this, where you can get away very, very quickly. It just doesn't make sense if you're kind of just like staying around in one spot. But that is not the only way to play tanks. Sometimes you need to play like this, and the other times you need to play like you did in the other video. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, here we are on game number 2. We are on Malinovka. Once again, Squirt Gunner is in the EBR 90, but this time he's by himself. No team, no platoons here. But once again, tell me a little bit more about this. I wanted to get a little cool shot of the EBR right there, so that's why I was doing that.
Yeah. So Malinovka is one of those maps where kind of everybody knows where you're supposed to go, and I realized that my tank doesn't have the best view range, so I don't have max view range, so I can't go to what is that H6 and sit in that bush where you're supposed to sit as a light tank. So my decision here was to get as close as I can as possible to the enemy, and also be someplace that maybe they're not expecting me, because it's not uncommon for really good players to blind fire that bush and then you're just sitting there for 5 minutes and eventually you just get killed because you're trying to do your job. So I decided this is the position I wanted to take. I chose this spot specifically because I can't go to the other 2 bushes across from me without getting spotted. And at the very end of the line here where I'm at is just wide enough to not be proxied by anybody crossing the road there by the lake. So
I see.
I decided to sit here. So what I ended up doing was I parked here for the first, 5 minutes of the game, and I went and did dishes. And this is a true story. I had a lot of things to do, but I figured I'm going to be sitting here. I may as well be productive in the background too. So yeah, so that's what's going on here. I'm honestly that's why the turret's not moving or anything. And every now and then we'll come back. It'll come back to there I am. I move my turret around. I'm like, oh, where am I? And I'm looking at this guy. Now
you'll go back to doing dishes.
yeah, and then I'm gonna go and walk back and doing what I'm doing. I'm watching from the kitchen, so because I don't need to move right now. I don't need to, and that's the whole point of this video. Is I have the fastest tank in the game, right? It's mobile, but just because you have mobility.
And it must have been so tempting. That tank was on like a slither of health.
It is, but again, there's the T95 right there on the minimap, and there's also the standard B. I mean, so you have to have map awareness, and you also have to realize that just because you have mobility doesn't mean you need to move. You need to use it. A resource is only good if it's going to act in a positive manner. You know what I mean? So like if you're gonna take off running, you better be sure you're gonna live. Is like how I feel about it. You know.
Gotcha. No worries. Well, let's go ahead and fast forward this just a
Yeah.
little
Go
bit,
ahead.
and then we'll get back to the next spot. So now, if I remember correctly, you kind of just go full ham.
Yeah. So now I have that mobility, and I know kind of where things are, and I've noticed that like a majority of the tanks are up there, and I also know that T95 is obviously a weak tank.
Yeah.
Well, it's not weak, but it's weak to highly mobile tanks like me, so I'm able to
Exactly.
take that guy out. And then I have some help coming. So again, so see here, I didn't engage him right away.
Yeah.
I decided to duck down below a little bit and give my teammate an opportunity to catch up, so I can have some help. Although he doesn't really offer much, so I just decide, okay, I'm gonna go for it. But again, you see, I don't need to rush in there.
Yeah.
You see here, I'm just keeping him lit and taking shots when I can. It's not always necessary, again, to just rush in and if I died right now, we would probably lose the game.
Right. Because you're the eyes.
I'm
You're
the eyes.
seeing all these guys.
And this is a map where eyes are necessary. And now see, I'm lighting everybody. And Artie can do their job,
Which they are.
Yep. Which is always, I mean, okay, so to me, this is a problem that a lot of people have with light tanks is,
Oh my gosh, you bounced a Leopard 1.
I did. Because, okay, so there's a fun thing about the wheels on the EBR-90 that, you know, some people maybe fighting it might want to know, is the upper part where you would normally aim to like track a tank isn't even a hitbox on the tank itself. So if you hit the wheels, basically front or rear wheel of the EBR, you're likely to not even hit the tank or damage the tank.
Gotcha.
But anyway, what I was saying is being in a light tank is super reliant on the team. And so sometimes it's a crapshoot and like you get really lucky, like I am right here, where I have teammates that are kind of doing their job. I think I'm gonna die here by getting greedy. And this is an example. Yeah. Yeah. So it's sometimes it's a crapshoot where you get people that are gonna help you out, and sometimes you don't. And I think that's just something you got to roll with. Like you can never really know until you're like halfway through the game whether or not.
Exactly. And then you know the game here now 10-7. You know, and you know you guys are really kind of pushing this forward. Well, make that 10-8.
Yeah.
But you guys are still you guys are still working for that. But you know, in the end, it was a good victory. I mean, you know, check this out. You did 5,134 assistance damage with over 1,000 assistance damage. So, you know,
right, 1,000 damage of my own, which isn't a big number. And this is the thing that I think a lot of players that follow Unicums and stuff like that on YouTube will like to notice is that not every game you play is going to be a Unicum game, and you're not going to, you know, those people they'll play like, you know, 100 games and cherry pick the best one to show you guys, and then you're wondering why you're such a bad player. You know what I'm saying? But you're not a bad player. You're just trying to do your job right. And so, I mean, this is how this statistic to me is exactly how a light tank should look at the end of the game. Maybe you die, maybe you live, but at the end of the game, you should have way more spotting assistance than damage of your own, because you shouldn't be so concerned about getting your, you know, quote unquote win 8 or whatever up. You should just be, you know, doing your job for your team. That's how you win games.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, Squirt Gunner, thank you so much for joining me. I think this was a lot of fun. Gives some insight to a lot of light tank players. I'm sure all of you guys have some insight, and I definitely am going to look forward to actually getting everybody's insight. Like I look forward to getting, for example, Remilexis and his heavy tank knowledge, and even maybe some biohazard knowledge on artillery.
I would like to see some biohazard knowledge in artillery, honestly.
And that game, I'm telling you, that biohazard moment. You know, you could say what you want about the guy and how many games you play with him and how ridiculous his strategies are at times, but that was a very entertaining artillery game to watch. When he went, defended his own flank, and landed the shots. You know what? If it's stupid but it works, it still works.
I mean, and maybe it's not really that stupid. You never know.
No, it's
Bio can teach us a lot of stuff. I think about artillery. He's a really good player.
That's right. That's right. Well, that's it for today, guys. Thank you so much for joining me, Squirt Gunner. As always, take care, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the next replay.